year the Curragh Derby Festival is the 41st running of it, and so we're putting this together based on the Irish Derby to remind people of the wonderful history that's here.
So Mamoon is very exciting, and trained here on the Curragh. You know, Kevin is rising to 87, I think he's 87 next month. It would be a fantastic achievement for him and all his team in Friarstown, and Mamoon must have a really great chance. I mean, he was runner-up obviously at Epsom.
Well, it would be a lifetime ambition. I was second in it, third in it, fourth in it, fifth in it. If he was lucky enough to win the Derby, it would be something else.
When you're going to race in the Curragh, you better be 110% ready, because it's hard on them physically, but it's not hard on them mentally sometimes. But it's a good horse that wins up the Curragh every time.
You have every facility for every horse, the ones that get buzzy, the ones that don't get buzzy, the lads that need to get buzzed up a bit, so you're able to bring them all different places. And you know, I'm just very lucky that when I get to work in the morning I come out onto this beautiful place.
Saturday's Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby will be the first renewal to be run since the completion of the Curragh's ambitious redevelopment. The racing manager Evan Arkwright is very much looking forward to this year's festival.
First Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby in the new Curragh is exciting and historic for a number of ways, I suppose. Yes, so we kick off obviously on Thursday, we run through Friday, and then it all builds into Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby Day on the Saturday, and the race is off at 5:20. So the whole weekend or the whole festival will build towards the Derby.
We might have a locally trained runner in the shape of Mad Moon as well for Kevin Prendergast, which will add a bit of lustre to proceedings.
Yeah, that's very exciting. It would be a fantastic result, not only for the Prendergast family, who are entrenched in the history and the heritage of the Curragh. Kevin's father, of course, the great Paddy Prendergast, trained 4 winners, the last of them being in 1965 when Meadow Court, owned by Bing Crosby, won the race, which was the last time a Prendergast won the race. Kevin hasn't had too many runners in the Irish Derby. I think Oscar Schindler was the last one back in the 90s, so it's a long time. So Mamoon is very exciting, trained here on the Curragh. You know, Kevin is rising to 87, I think he's 87 next month. It would be a fantastic achievement for him and all his team in Friarstown, and Mamoon must have a really great chance. I mean, he was runner-up obviously at Epsom. I think he'll love the Curragh, and you know, fingers crossed, but it's going to be a very tight race because Aidan will have a very strong number of runners. Anthony Van Dyke, obviously the Epsom Derby winner, will be heading his team, and obviously also we'll have guaranteed probably from Jim Balgers, Rakan, hopefully from Dermot Wells' yard across the road will also be in there, but Mamoon will be the big story, yes.
One feature of the race has been the great support that you've had from Dubai Duty Free. How many years have they been sponsoring the big race?
Yeah, it is. They first sponsored it in 2008, but they'd had a relationship here with the Curragh from about 2002. They came in to sponsor the Anglesey Stakes back in 2002 as part of a whole Dubai themed day, and that was very successful. And then when we were looking for a replacement from Budweiser, who stopped their sponsorship after 21 years in 2007, thankfully Colin McLaughlin, who is obviously the chairman and the CEO of Dubai Duty Free, was strongly considered it, and thankfully we were able to do a deal to get Dubai Duty Free here to sponsor our biggest race of the year in 2008, and it's gone from strength to strength. The relationship is very strong between ourselves and themselves. You know, they're huge supporters of racing throughout the world, you know, and they're huge supporters of the Curragh, and I know they're delighted to have the first to be associated, I suppose, with the first Derby in the new Curragh. But again, you know, as well as sponsoring the Derby, which is worth 1.5 million in euros in prize money, they've also put additional funds now into the support programme to try and develop the quality and competitiveness of those races as well.
And commercially, it must be quite nice for you to be dealing with sponsors who, you know, there's the level of consistency, and you mentioned earlier as well, you know, you built up a good relationship and rapport with them. Yeah,
you know, it's been impossible. My relationship with the Dubai Duty Free personally goes back to the times when I worked for the Emirates Racing Association in Dubai back in the 90s. So it's been a long association with them, but you know, so they've become good friends of the Curragh for sure, you know, and you know, they'll entertain a lot of people, here on Derby Day. You know, we have the 350 people will be entertained in a marquee across the track, which they've done, you know, for a number of years, and yeah, they've been great to deal with, and we look forward to working with them long into the future.
Former trainer and racing historian Jim Kavanagh has curated an exciting new exhibition of Irish Derby memorabilia. This will be displayed at the Old Courthouse in Kildare town.
We've the privilege this year of having it to put up our Curragh Memorabilia. And we have some wonderful stuff here, and we hope many people in the area coming for the Derby will take part and come and see it.
And it obviously opens up to the public next Wednesday, the Wednesday
Yes,
Derby weekend.
Exactly, free of charge, from 10:30 in the morning till 2:30, and from 2:30 till 4:30. But if there's anybody really interested, we're open anytime they want to call.
And it's obviously great to come and see all the memorabilia. There's so much history behind the Dubai duty-free Irish Derby. We'll start off with the Prendergast family, who are synonymous with the Curragh full stop.
Absolutely. PJ Darky Prendergast went to Australia to try and make his fortune. Didn't work, but by a coincidence, it's worth saying that Kevin, his son, who has one of the big fancies in the Derby, was born in Australia. He came back around 1939-40, the start of the Second World War, and set up with one horse on the Curragh. And the rest is history. Polaris was the first horse he had. He won 18 races with him. He had a horse called Port Blanc that won a huge gamble in Haydock around 1946. And he was well on the road at that stage. Trained 5 Derby winners, starting with in 1950 Dark Warrior, 1952 13 of Diamonds, 1963 Ragusa, which was a very, very good horse. 1965 he had Meadow Court. I'm missing one in between.
And of course Meadow Court was obviously one of the most famous ones. He was owned by the singer Bing Crosby.
That's perfectly right. And it was Leicester's first Irish Derby victory. And I remember the day well, very wet day, and Bing Crosby then sang to the crowd "When Irish Eyes Are Smiling." And that was a memorable day, never to be forgotten.
And Darky Prendergast, he's synonymous with the Curragh, and he always had big owners. The boxer Dial was one of the best known boxers throughout the world. He trained for him as well.
Yeah, Jack Dial, the gorgeous Gael, 6'4", from Cork, and joined the Irish Guards, and was a great boxer, professional boxer. And he would sing after every victory that he had, "When Irish Eyes Are Smiling" as well. And the two, himself and Darky, were well matched up. They were two characters.
And obviously we see a wedding photo of Darky the day he got married as well. Of course, Kevin Prendergast's late mother.
That's right, yes, and it's wonderful to have that here, because not alone is this the history of the horse, but it's the history of the families connected with the horse.
And Darky Prendergast revolutionised Irish racing. He brought it to the next level. He brought it to the international scene, because he was champion trainer in England 3 or 4 times. He was synonymous with Royal Ascot, brilliant trainer of 2-year-olds, and trained numerous Royal Ascot winners.
That's right. He specialised in 2-year-olds early on. He won 7 runnings of the Park 1500, which was pure speed, Windy City, horses like that. They all topped the free handicap in those days. He was brilliant with 2-year-olds, and then he moved on, and he was equally as good. He won the first Irish train winner of the English 2000 Guineas was Marshall in 1959, ridden by Ron Hutchinson. He had a fondness for Australian jockeys. Garney Bagour rode Ragusa to win, and then he had Des Lake, another Australian. But then he referred back to Christy Roach, and Christy was his apprentice, and he brought Christy to the fore then, and Christy became champion jockey.
There's another great picture there of Kevin standing with his 2 sons, Paddy Prendergast and of course Kevin Prendergast. Isn't it brilliant? Fast forward on to the present day, Kevin Prendergast is a live contender in Mad Moon, who's ran such a brilliant race in the Epsom Derby a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think all Kildare will be shouting for Kevin on Sunday, because it would be really a fitting finale to a wonderful career if he could pull it off.
As a son of the legendary trainer Darky Prendergast, it was perhaps inevitable that Kevin would follow in his father's illustrious footsteps, enjoying great success in a career spanning 6 decades.
It was always my ambition to be a trainer. Usually you do what your dad did, and he was quite good at it, and I said I'd give it a go.
Did you envisage when you started off back in 1963 or 4 that you were going to be as successful as you have been?
Well, I don't know. Every day you get up, you're hoping to find a horse, and you're very lucky if you find one. And main thing, if you have one good horse a year, they won't forget you. But if you don't have a good horse, you're forgotten very quick at this game.
And Kevin, you keep finding one all the time. Pidget, am I right saying Pidget was your first classic winner?
Yes, Pidgeot was my first classic winner for a chap called Norman Butler, who lived in Tipperary.
She won the Irish 1000 guineas.
And she won the Ledger as well.
Northern Treasure. He obviously
good.
won the English guineas.
No, he
Irish guineas.
He won the Irish guineas, and Nebbiolo won the English guineas.
Oscar Schindler won what, two
Irish Ledgers, yeah, and won the Hardwick Stakes and won the Norman Stakes, and was third in the Arc.
And 40 years after winning your previous Irish 2000 guineas, Outad pops up a couple of years ago.
Takes a long time, doesn't it? 40 years.
That must have been very special. At the
a lot of fellas to give up.
But that must have been very special that day.
Ah, it was great, yeah, great. And great for Sheikh Hamdan. He's been a great supporter of mine for 30 years. And if there were more like him, the racing would be easy.
And how did the association begin with Sheikh Hamdan?
I think it could have been through Tom Jones, who was a great friend of my father's. And he used to train for a Mrs. Veriker, and when the horses went a bit high in the handicap here, my father would send them to Tom Jones, so there was an affiliation between us.
And obviously Sheikh Hamdan wanted to have horses in training. You were in Ireland, you were the perfect fit.
I was the lucky one to get them.
And you've had a hugely successful relationship with Sheikh Hamdan.
Oh, he's been marvellous. And only for him, I wouldn't be at it still.
And every year he sends me nice types of horses. And which is great. Fast forward onto the present day. Mad Moon, when he came into the yard, he's obviously a gorgeous looking horse, good pedigree. When did you realise that he was as good as what he is?
I think we had the same sort of profile as we had for Outad. Like, he was just backward enough when he came as a baby. And I don't think he had his first run till September neither.
And of course he won first time out at Leopardstown, very impressive performance.
Then he won at the champions meeting. I think that's end of September, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was of course the end of August into September. Group 2, very impressive again that day. 2 runs, 2 wins. He
actually beat the horse that started favourite for the Derby. Broome. He beat Broome 2.5 lengths, and which was an achievement. Broome, quite a good horse he ran on. I think he ran in France after in Dutch Cup, ahead in a Group 1.
And obviously he finished second to him on his first run of the season at the Derby trial. Then he went to the Guineas. He's run a blinder on the wrong side.
He ran a good race in the Guineas and what do you call it. And our biggest problem was we thought he might stay 1.5 miles, but it's like everything, it's trial and error. You don't know till you try it.
Then obviously you took the chance. It was a big... You made the call, you obviously spoke to Sheikh Hamdan and Angus Gold, but you were adamant that you wanted to run him in the Epsom Derby. Look,
in actual fact, it was Sheikh Hamdan made the decision, because after the Guineas I went up to see him in his box at Newmarket, and he said, usually horses are run in the first 4 or 5 in the Guineas. It's a very good Derby trial, and he said, let's try it. So he made the decision, not anybody else.
And you came very close to landing your first Epsom Derby. So close.
Well, I hope we get a chance to do it again. But as the fella says, the train is leaving the station.
And Kevin, talk us through the emotions watching the race that day, the Epsom Derby. We know you're a professional's professional, but you do get emotional. When Chris Hayes has hit the front of Furlong Down, what was going through your mind?
You've gone too soon. And that's the truth.
Did you think you were going to hold on?
Look, what do you got? I was riding him so hard, I don't remember.
And when it was called out, you were just chinned, obviously, but there was
I knew he was beat, but I wasn't sure whether he was second or not.
And it must be a huge sense of achievement. Okay, disappointment that you didn't win, but to get so close, to finish second in Epsom Derby, it must have been unbelievable.
Well, listen, I think it's everybody's wish to be able to competitive at the highest level, and our horse on the day competed well, and he gave everybody a great trail, and we were just sorry that he didn't win.
Fast forward on a couple of weeks, how's he come out of Epsom, and how's the prep gone for the Irish Derby?
Come out of very well, and touch wood, I hope he stays all right, and please God he'll run a good race.
And what would it mean to you to win an Irish Derby at this stage of your career?
Well, it would be a lifetime ambition. I was second in it, third in it, fourth in it, fifth in it, and I actually should have won it with Ragapan. He was 12 lengths or 15 lengths behind into the straight, and he just got chinned by Weaver's Hall.
Who rode Ragapan that year?
Unfortunately, my great friend Bill Williamson, but he was following another Australian on a horse called Hail the Pirates that I had said to him, he won't stay, so don't follow him. And unfortunately, he didn't believe me.
He didn't get a great reception coming back in, did he?
Not really.
And Kevin, what makes the Curragh so special? There's not a blade of grass on the Curragh that you don't know. All the grass gallops, all the new gallops, all the all-weather surfaces. What makes it so special?
Well, it's a great training facility, and it's we've great gallops and marvellous facilities. And I mean, if you have a horse that runs at the Curragh and he runs well, he'll run well anywhere.
And usually at the Curragh, it's the fairest track, isn't it?
Very fair track, and bad horses don't win there.
Normally the best horse on the day wins.
Best horse on the day wins.
Former inter-county GAA footballer Willie McCreary hails from another Kildare racing dynasty and has enjoyed notable success in his own right since taking out a training licence just over a decade ago.
My father was a trainer, and my grandfather on my mother's side was a trainer. My father always told me never to train because it was too hard a job to do. So basically I went into the stud end, but I found my way back to training horses. I find it's the thing I most want to do. But sure, look at it, was a privileged childhood. You're growing up with horses all around the house is wonderful. It's what I really cherish about it anyway. Like, there was horses everywhere, and I was riding out before I went to school, and they called me Willie the Shoe in the yard when I was a young fella because I was small. But then, fortunately or unfortunately, I grew when I was 14 to 16, and I'd say my trousers didn't fit me for about 2 or 3 years because I just shot up, and I remember wasting to riding a pint to pint. I didn't eat from a Thursday to a Sunday to riding a pint to pint. Played a county minor match that morning, got thrown around because I was starving. The filly fell at the third, and I just got up and had a burger and said that was it.
Did you? Which did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy the amateur riding, or did you like the football?
I loved the amateur riding. I always wanted to do it. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do the weights. You can't do both, because you're trying to lose weight to ride, and then you go out in the pitch and some lads throwing you around the place because you're too weak to push them off. So that's why I always think of it. Sometimes when the jockeys are racing too hard, they can't be too effective in the finish of a race compared to lads who are eating and can be effective.
You were part of the Kildare team. What was that like, being part of?
Actually, it was great at the time. You're young, you're single, you go and train, and everything's, you train hard and you play hard. And at that time I was assistant trainer for Charles O'Brien, based in the Curragh as well. And in fairness, every Sunday evening I had off either to play a match or go training. But I mean, other than that, he never knew I was there because I was playing matches because we trained in the evening time. It didn't interfere with work. It's a lot different now, I suppose, to the guys who are playing now. They think they're prima donnas and they get everything done for them. But in our time, you worked and then you went off and played in the evenings.
Do you find that because you were out there until you were probably 30 or maybe a bit younger, a bit older, and you were running around and you had sore knees and you might have had sore shins and you took knocks and bumps, do you find that in a sort of a roundabout way probably helped you to understand what a horse is going through?
Yeah, when the whole thing is I suppose to ask a horse to do what he's capable of doing. Don't ever ask him to do more than he's capable of doing at that period in his lifetime. Be it a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and you want him to develop and to get to the height of their racing ability, and that a 2-year-old might just only be a 2-year-old, that he mightn't develop into a 3-year-old, and a 3-year-old mightn't be anything till he's an early 3-year-old, late 3-year-old. So it's to identify that early on in the training of a horse. And I would call myself a conditioner, more so than a trainer, to condition a horse to take a race that the race doesn't take much out of him. I think that's what I find is the easiest thing, more so than training a horse to win a race. It's training a horse to win a race, but that the race that he wins, he comes home and he's happy and he wants to go racing again. Now some horses aren't willing to do it, some guys aren't willing to work. You have to coax them then, be it blinkers or eye shields or something like that, and see why he doesn't want to do it. I think that's the question you have to ask of the horse, because most horses, as you know yourself, they die for you, and that's what they do. But horses have died for people, and you know, horses have carried people all across the world, all across continents, and we think we're great with race horses, but sure, they're the same breed of horse, and we're asking them to do a silly thing, which is run at either 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs a mile, to go as hard as they can, and to put their head down in the line when they don't know where the winning post is. But we think to do. But you know, they're just running because we asked them to. So you have to condition a horse to do that. So when he comes back home, he eats up and he thinks that wasn't a bad day. I enjoyed that today.
Did you deliberately go into sort of the bloodstock side of things to get a 360-degree education in horses, or was it just something you wanted to try?
No. I was. I remember my father introduced me to Michael Osborne at a young age up to Curragh one day, and Michael Osborne, because I was tall, and he says, "Look, the thing you need to do is go into the stud end of it." And my father was delighted, and basically I did get a wide range, and I know how to foal a mare, how to cover a mare, how to get a mare in foal. So I do know every aspect of a mare and fillies, and I possibly get on well with fillies because I know the difference a filly can be when she's in season, out of season, or the way she is in foal or not in foal.
What percentage of your runners have been fillies over the last 10 years or so?
Well, when I started out, I could only afford a filly myself to buy for small syndicates, and so that's why I didn't look at the colts, because colts are usually, 2/3 more expensive than a filly. And then I got known for training fillies, and I suppose I like fillies. An honest mare will do a lot more than an honest colt. My Group 1 winner was Fisalana, and she was a mare, and once you get a handle on their cycles, you can be you can train them a lot easier.
How important is Billy Lee to the whole operation?
Actually, Billy Lee is vital. We've been together now, I think, 6 or 7 years. I don't give him many instructions. He'll say what he thinks, and I'll say what I think, and then he'll do what I ask him, usually. But no, he's a great fella. He's a great horseman first, which is vital. He's very, very cool and calm on them, and he's very relaxed, off the horse and on the horse, and I think that pans through the saddle when he gets on a horse. But he's never ever hard on a horse if he's not going to win, and especially with fillies, they seem to bounce back and eat well, and they come on from the run, and he's always trying to gather information, like myself, to where we should go better, and which track will suit them, because in Ireland we have so many variants in tracks. We can say which way we go, whether we're uphill or downhill, what type of finish they might need. So it's always he knows the tracks inside out as well, and it's very easy to work with him.
The Collins family are synonymous with the Curragh. The late Con Collins was a much respected classic winning trainer, and his daughter Tracey has continued the proud legacy at Conningham Lodge Stables.
Fortunate enough, my grandfather came up from Cork back in the 1920s, and he went to a couple of yards on the Curragh, and then he landed in Conningham Lodge, and it's been our home since the mid-20s. So it's a lovely place to live and work.
And of course, this is on the Maddenstown side of the Curragh as well, and it's a great place to train horses from, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. Like it's so quiet, and there's wonderful facilities here. We've got a 7 furlong straight gallop, which has been majorly improved over the winter thanks to Eva Hafner. She donated an awful lot of money and put a lot of money into the training grounds onto the Curragh. She's done up 3 gallops, and our 1.25 miles is to be done up again very shortly, and her input into the place has been a massive asset. So not only now have we got possibly one of the quietest areas, as I say, 2 fantastic gallops. We've got a straight grass gallop that covers nearly 7 furlongs and maybe 800 yards in width, and it's just a fantastic facility.
And Tracy, you've had so much success since your granddad came here back in the 20s. Conningham Lodge has always been a prolific producer, not just of winners, but of classic winners. A Grand National winner came out of here as well. And it's just continued success?
Yeah, I suppose back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, my grandfather would have been the Aidan O'Brien at the time. He was the man that everybody was trying to beat. He trained numerous classic winners. He had a Triple Crown winner, and there was a lot of very, very good horses came out of this place. And then my dad took over the place, and as my dad was recognised one of the best judges of a horse anywhere, and he was a brilliant trainer, great man on the day to get a horse ready, and he had his classic winner, Princess Patty, won the classics for him, and Chelsea Rose still holds the track record at the Curragh over 9 furlongs, and
Group 1 Mile
Stakes winner. Myself and Sheena bought her for him, which was actually a great thrill. We bought her quite cheaply, under 50 grand. So he always taught us how to look at horses and buy cheap horses. We've never had the big backing, so we've often gone to the sales and we try and find a horse that's affordable, but would have a very good dam line, preferably a stallion that's gone out of fashion, maybe has a little bit of a wonky leg that we know that we're going to be able to train, and lo and behold, if they become any good, the wonky leg is forgiven, and we sell them on. So he's been a massive inspiration to myself and Sheena.
And of course your dad, the late Con Collins, he was an unbelievable man to line up a horse for a day. Back in those days, starting off, to survive, you had to gamble, didn't you? Like the likes of the old Tralee, Listowel, Killarney, Alfie McLean's, all of those owners, they loved to go there for the week and have horses set up for that time.
Absolutely, and back then I suppose people would wait a long time for a horse. Like the McLeans were phenomenal to Daddy, and Barney Eastwood, and a whole load of fantastic owners down through the years, but they like to have a gamble, and they'd have no problem waiting 2 or 3 years for a horse. And God loved the bookmakers, but when the McLeans and my father rolled into town, normally they got fleeced. And but that kept the place going, and it was all about backing horses in order to keep the place going. And with a place like this, it's over nearly 300 years old. It takes a lot of maintenance, and it eats money where you wouldn't normally see it.
And Tracy, going back to the gallops here on this side of the Curragh, Maddenstown, obviously is not as busy regards trainers as it used to be, but numerous classic winners have come out of here. Liam Brown literally trained 200 yards up the road from you. Dara Monarch won a Guineas for him. Mick O'Toole trained in Maddenstown, and he had a second yard down in Brownstown, which is no longer there. He had numerous Cheltenham winners. He had a couple of classic winners as well, Dickens Hill being one.
Yes, absolutely. As I say, the Maddenstown Gallops is a phenomenal area, and we just need to get the life back into it. And gratefully, there's trainers now coming back in, and I said with the investment that's after coming into the area, it's very positive, Kevin. But then saying that too, you take Maddenstown out of it. When you have a horse in training on the Curragh, you not only do you get Maddenstown, you get Stepaside, you get the Flat Rat, Welch's Hill, Little Curragh. You have 12 all-weather gallops, you've 1 school and strip, you've got 2,000 of maintained grass gallops. That means that every time a horse goes up, a man actually goes behind it and shovels it back in. That's fantastic. And people have this mad belief that the Curragh is flat. It's not. There's beautiful rolling plains, and you can leave my place here and you can go off for a walk for 2 hours and you mightn't see another horse, or you can go over to the Old Vic and it's like going down Grafton Street. So you have everything, and mentally you have every facility for every horse. The ones that get buzzy, the ones that don't get buzzy, the lads that need to get buzzed up a bit, so you're able to bring them all different places. And I'm just very lucky that when I get to work in the morning I come out onto this beautiful place.
The place comes alive around the Curragh, Kildare town, Newbridge town, Naas, Kilcullen. It comes alive, doesn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable, Kevin, because apart from the fact that it's the Irish Derby and it's just wonderful racing, but the effect it has on the local communities. The festival starts in Kildare on Monday. They're doing museums, they're having shows, they're doing a whole load of stuff for the local community, same way in Newbridge and Kilcullen. And then you get over to the racecourse, and it's a magical 3 days of racing. You got the best horses taken on for phenomenal prize money, and I know this might sound a little bit biased, but on the best track in the world. It's the one track in the world that there's never a hard luck story. If the horse is good enough, generally he will win. And it was fantastic that during the planning of the Curragh, and I know there was a lot of giving out about it, but that the racecourse was kept open, and it was very important because it is such an amazing track.